welcome to the Winx Forever Podcast. Join creator, host, and lifelong Winx fan, Lola Valentine, as she invites you to take a deep dive into the very cool universe of Winx Club. So, whether you've been a Winx fan since 2004, or you vaguely remember the show from your childhood, or even if you're being introduced to it for the first time, welcome! This is the Winx Forever Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Winx Forever Podcast. I'm your host, Jake, aka Qba016. Wait, something's not right. Oh, you expected Lola. Well, she couldn't host this week, so she asked me to fill in instead. Just joking. Since this episode is a special one, we are switching things up. Lola will be a guest star today. Thanks for coming, Lola.
Thank you, Jake, for putting all of this together. I never thought that I would be on this side of the mic being interviewed by, one of my guests. So I am very excited, but also kind of nervous.
I'm nervous as well. First thing first, congratulations. 50 episodes? That's an achievement. How do you feel about it?
Honestly, I can't believe that we're here already. I didn't know when I started the podcast, honestly, how far I would get. So to see it come to 50 episodes, I'm really, really proud and thankful for friends like you and the Winx Club fandom for coming along on this magical adventure with me.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
So this is a special episode to celebrate your success as a fairy podcast. So I prepared a couple of surprises for you along the way. So be prepared. The episode will be divided into 3 sections: past, present, and future, where we will get to know more about you and your plans. But before that, let's start hot with a session of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Now you will see how it is.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, let's start. Favorite Winx Club member?
Stella, obviously.
That was easy. Favorite season?
Season 2.
That's interesting. Favorite specialist or male warrior?
Ribbon.
Ouch.
I love that little broody boy. I love him so much.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
The only one, Secret of the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, I agree. Favorite transformation?
I know it's basic, but Enchantix.
Well, it's not basic.
It's a classic.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Favorite romantic relationship in the series?
Helia and Flora, because they're just so sweet and I love them so much.
Yeah, they are so unproblematic. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, right until the pink-haired lady comes along.
We don't talk about her. We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah. Favorite villain of the Winx Club series?
Okay, so it's Icy, but shortly followed by Darkar. Both of them together. I love them.
Darkar. I don't think
Yeah.
that Darkar is a popular one in this question, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't think that
Yeah.
I've ever heard Darkar. Well, actually, I think that Anthony Salerno said that Darkar was his favorite villain.
And the last one, favorite podcast episode you recorded?
Oh, Jake, you're really gonna do this to me?
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna have to say my episode with Karen Tackett and the 4
Yeah,
kids,
a classic.
voice actress for Stella. That was just such a special episode for me to record because, as I mentioned, Stella is my favorite, and
Yeah.
meeting virtually the voice actress for my favorite version of Stella, that was just magical.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, I think I agree. This would be my favorite as well. I still remember how stressful it was for me when you invited me for the first time. How was it for you?
Being on the side of the rapid fire round, I have to say it was definitely harder than I thought. It was harder to keep it concise and quick,
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so quick. I planned it to be a bit more quick, but then again, I wanted to add my opinion as well. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's hard, right?
yeah, it is. Okay, so let's take a quick break for a sip of magical champagne, and we'll be back for part 1.
You're listening to the Winx Forever Podcast.
Hey fairy friends, Lola Valentine here. In case you missed it, this year, the Winx Forever Podcast launched our very own Discord community. Discord has been a great place to connect with so many wonderful Winxers from around the world to talk about our favorite fairies. I wanted to try and recreate the magic of the original Winx Club online English forums from the old WinxClub.com website. So we've got forums where you can post your own topics and respond to others' posts in every Winx topic imaginable. Click the invite link in the description below to join the Winx Forever Podcast Discord community. And remember, the magic's in you.
Welcome to the past. In this segment, we will use Faragonda's enchanted glass ball to see the magical life of little Lola as a Winx fan. I'm sure our listeners are dying to hear more about how it started for you. You briefly mentioned bits and bobs in some of the episodes, but let's put the puzzle together. Where's the beginning of your love for the show?
Oh my goodness. Would you believe that the first ever glimpse of anything Winx that I ever saw was in this full page magazine advertisement at my dentist office?
Go to the dentist, kids.
Go to the dentist, kids. You never know what you'll find at the dentist office. It was this full page ad in this magazine at my children's dentist office. I was 9 years old. The colors on the page just jumped out, and it was an advertisement. I believe it had Flora, Bloom, and Stella, the Holy Trinity, on the on the front, obviously. And it was an advertisement of it like premiering, like catch the premiere on the Fox Box. And the Fox Box was a special cartoon block on Saturday mornings, and that would later be obviously rebranded to 4Kids TV, which is the production company that dubbed the American English dub. But so it would air the Fox Box / 4Kids TV would air a bunch of 4Kids Entertainment dubs of animes and other cartoons like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Sonic X and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Pokemon.
The classics.
The classics, exactly. Later on, it would also have other like girl power shows like Mew Mew Power, Magical Do-Re-Mi, Bratz. It was a whole great time.
Everything was there.
Everything was there basically, yeah, every Saturday morning. But their first IP that was like centered around girl power was Winx Club. It was the Winx Club series. So this cartoon block on Saturday mornings was a staple for my younger brother and I, especially when there were times growing up where we didn't have cable. So Saturday mornings was like really the only time that we could access cartoons like this. It was such a magical time, like every Saturday morning, getting up to watch our favorite cartoons together. And it's just so special. And it must have been very shortly after that dentist trip that I, tuned into the Fox Box to watch Winx Club. And my very first episode was, as you know, the Black Mud Swamp episode, your favorite episode.
Yeah. The favorite.
So if we do some quick math, we know that June 19th, 2004 was the first time that Winx Club ever aired in America. So if my first episode was Winx Club season 1, episode 4, then that means that July 10th, 2004 was my first time ever watching a Winx Club episode. If you deduct,
you can have your own anniversary for Winx Club.
Isn't that so fun.
That's so iconic. I think, I mean,
Oh,
like, I wish I could like count it like this.
yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. Well, it's just so easy because, in America, Winx Club aired one episode at a time, 1 week at a
Yeah.
time. So it was, very easy for me to be like, well, they aired the first episode on the 19th of June. So yeah, of course, like I can just count 4 weeks later. That's where I was.
Now I'm jealous.
Yeah, listen, uh it was frustrating, back in the day because you would
Yeah.
only get one episode at a time, but and also like looking back at it now as a marketer myself,
Mhm.
what a great advertising campaign that was for 4Kids TV to like have just like this integrated marketing plan of like advertising was everywhere, even these magazines in this like children's dentist office, like that's pretty incredible that,
Yeah. And that's
you
pretty
know,
big, actually.
right. Yeah, like their marketing team, like top notch.
They
Like hats
invested a
off to
lot.
them.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, Lola. So, what really made you fall in love with Winx Club? Was it the dentist?
Totally. Dentist office done.
Did you get you the laugh gas? How is it called?
It was the laugh gas at the dentist for
Oh
sure.
yeah, definitely.
No, I fell in love with, I mean, honestly, the characters and story of season one. I mean, they had me hooked from the get-go. I've always loved fantasy stories. I've always been
Yeah.
huge into like the early Barbie movies, the Lord of the Rings franchise, the Narnia franchise, My Little Pony, Neopets, like anything magical and like wizards and good versus evil, like I am here for it. So it had
Yeah.
all of that, and for me, Winx Club was also this very unique thing, different than anything that I'd ever seen before on television or cartoons that were like, targeted towards my age demographic. It was very lively and bright and exciting, and I loved that all of the girls looked so different from each other. Their friend group looked a lot like my friend group, and so it was really nice to see that and seeing, especially like Latina and Asian representation in Flora and Misa, like that was really important, like, to little Lola, I think. And so, but obviously it's really easy now to point to those things as an adult and realize how important they are to me. But I think that as I reflect on it, it was just very fun to watch, it was just, you know, also this very, in America, very hard to access show. It was one of those things like if you know, you know.
Ah,
And so
the
it was a you
exclusivity. Yeah.
yes, like you had to be in the right place at the right time to catch the show and
Oh,
be, that place was Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. for a long time.
yeah.
Like it was a lot of early Saturday mornings. So yeah.
Were there any reruns later on? Like,
There were. So
uh-huh.
yeah, they would eventually change up the time slots and it would be a little more accessible, not so early in the morning.
Okay.
But yeah, so it took about by like January they were running reruns of season 1,
All right. Okay. So it
and
was.
then yeah, so from around like February until September, they ran reruns of season 1, and then season 2 premiered in September of 2005.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice. The good times.
the good
So
time.
you said that the Wings resembled your group of friends. Were your
Mhm.
friends as invested as you back then?
So not entirely.
Uh-huh.
I growing up is hard, as you know. Um,
Yeah,
there
I have some
were
experience.
yes, you're right. Yes. And so growing up, I had this, tight-knit group of friends in elementary school that we kind of like started to like drift apart, but I had this best friend um that did share this love of Winx with me. I mean, Winx Club was our everything. It was, we would, go over to each other's house to watch Winx Club together every Saturday morning. And if we weren't at each other's house, we were calling each other, making sure that, are you up? Like, yes, I'm up. Are you watching? Like, yes, I'm watching. And then we'd, hang up, watch the episode. And then we would call each other again after the episode was over. Like, what do you think about this? Oh yeah, I saw, like, what do you, it was so fun discussing that with, my best friend. Like we'd known each other since we were like 5, and so
Aw.
like being able to discuss the show together and just like really invest in it and love it so much. I mean, it meant the world to us. And it was so sweet. But yeah, she was my best friend in elementary school through like middle school.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's really
unfortunately,
nice.
yeah, as time went on, she ended up going to a different school and we kind of drifted apart, and so did her like love of Winx. And it was a like really hard time for me because, my best friend of 7 years was no longer like with me, and also, then I didn't really have a Winx community at that point because the only Winx community I had was, and my best friend. And then that is when I kind of like dove into the Winx Club forums, first on the 4kids.tv website, because they had a section on their website that you could discuss their shows with. And so that was cool. And then obviously, eventually in
Yeah.
the English forums on the Winx Club website. So yeah, that was my Winx community though.
That's nice. And what is your most cherished memory of that magic time as little Lola, fan of a fairy
Oh,
show?
oh my goodness. I have so many fun memories growing up with Winx Club in America. Like the summer of 2005, in between, those reruns of season 1 leading up to the premiere of season 2, I remember my mom taking me and my best friend at the time to the toy store, Toys R Us. And my best friend got the first 4Kids magazine with
Mm.
the little like pink purse that came with it. And I ended up getting the first like collectible like tin of the magical trading card game.
Oh,
And
the green one?
yeah, the green one. And oh my goodness, it was just such a magical time. We spent that summer drawing pictures of our favorite fairies together, playing with our Winx Club dolls outside, taking them on adventures through Black Mud Swamp, of course.
Ah,
And like it was just like it's so like instilled in me like that summer, but like just memories like that of like getting to experience it with her and together was really magical. I mean, those moments I think I will always hold on to as little Lola, when Winx meant the world to me, and my world was, very, very simple and safe. Nothing really else mattered except discussing our favorite fairy show with my best friend in the whole world, and it was so magical.
that's so cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so this is the first magical surprise. Are you ready?
I am so excited.
All right. Are you ready
Yes.
for the first surprise?
Hi Lola, or the way we used to say here in Greece, Yasu Lola. I'm so excited that Qba asked me to join this, and without any further ado, I want to ask you, which Winx superpower or what kind of any superpower would choose for your Winxona? I'd love to hear that from you. Many kisses from Greece. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.
Eldora, I'm crying. That was so great. Oh my god.
I hope those are tears of joy.
Oh, they are. They are definitely tears of joy. Oh, what a fun time. Oh,
I
okay,
should
let
have
me
I should have give you some heads up to bring some tissues.
I know, I've got some Winx Club themed tissues like back there that I need to crack open for this episode. Oh my god. Okay, how fun. Oh my god. Wow, what was the question? It was what superpower I
Okay,
would have?
which Winx superpower of
Yeah.
or what kind of any superpower would you choose for your Winxona?
Man, I think that it might be Techna adjacent, just because like I love creating like digital content.
Mhm.
I think that being able to like craft something like just with my mind instead of like having to like physically like, to spend the time to do
Yeah.
it, like being able to like, I don't know what kind of power you would like call that. I don't know, conjuring, media conjuring, I don't know. But
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that
so.
it would make my life a lot easier if I could just like think it and then it be made, like if I could just think like how to edit this and then it's edited, that would be great.
Imagine the word.
Yeah, so
Life would
something,
be so simple.
life would be a dream.
Okay. And I have one other question.
Hello everyone, it's Josh from the Winx Chronicles, and congratulations on 50 episodes of the Winx Forever podcast, Lola. Now, I am here to ask you a question. We know that the Winx fandom is small but mighty, but if you could share one lesson that you learned from the Winx Club to the whole world, something that you think everybody should hear, what would that lesson or message be? Thank you so much for inviting me on to ask this question, Cuba, and congratulations, Lola. Lots of love to both of you from the UK.
This is the best thing ever.
Uh,
Oh my god. Okay, how fun. Oh, what would I? Oh, thank you, Josh, for your question. This is amazing. I'm crying. Oh man. I think that it would be that we're just stronger together. Like I feel like anytime that the Winx are divided in some way, that, they become unstoppable when they either like power converge, or even in, any of the episodes where the witches and the Winx team up, like I think that that
ah,
is really powerful. Like, I mean, even going through the season 1 rewatch, being able to see like, you know, uh, individually every school fell, but then once they teamed up together, it was when they were able to like, conquer evil. So I think that that would be like we're just stronger together, and yeah, just be there for each other, and don't be afraid to be your authentic self, because the people that matter, will be there for you.
aw, that's a very good lesson, I think. I would pick something similar for sure, because I think that the show is like made of this idea
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, and even like going back to like the Winx community, I think that enjoying Winx by yourself is fine and magical, and you do that, but like I think that the magic really is when we all come together, and we get to share our different personal experiences with, our show that we all love so much. I think that that's truly special.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the community. We know that at one point of little Lola's life, the Winx English Forum magazine happened.
Yeah.
Side note for our younger listeners, back in the days before social media times and limitless connection, we had this online space for fairies and specialists called Winx Club website forum. And I'm not
Yes.
sure about you, but for me, it was the first ever channel of contact with other Winxers back in the era. How did it affect your story as a fan?
Oh my gosh. Well, as I, mentioned previously, I was pretty much alone in my love of Winx after my friend had kind of grown out of it and we'd grown apart. So then to make things worse, the 4Kids TV website forums were also shutting down. So
The
I know it was just tragic.
horror.
The horror. But then that is when about the time like I found the Winx Club official website and their English forums. And I was so happy. I remember so vividly my dad telling me when I would ask permission to get on the family computer to go check my threads on the forums,
Obviously.
obviously. I remember so vividly him saying, oh, that's great, now you can talk about Winx Club with other people again. And it was just like it was very sweet, and I was just, like, they understood how much it meant to me that I had this online community. And I think that that's very rare for like, early 2000s
Yeah.
parents maybe. So that was really cool. And it was really cool for me, the like experiencing because it was a UK English forum. it wasn't an American English forum. So there were people from all over the UK in this English forum, as you remember, because you were
of
there.
course.
And so
Yeah.
it was a really cool time for me because I got to learn about a whole new side of Winx Club as an American fan that I had never even known existed before. You know, being on the Winx Club English forums really opened up like my world of Winx, so to say. And it really, because you know, from there I learned that one, like, Winx Club wasn't getting canceled because that was like kind of the language that they used in the end of the, you know, 4Kids era of, like, you know, the series finale is what they called the finale of season 3, and I was like, this can't be true. And, you know, to my delight, it wasn't. So it was just really cool because it was like this new era of Winx Club for me. So getting to know about that and also getting to learn more and more about Winx Club made me want to share my findings of, you know, like the latest Winx Club news with my friends in the forum, thus creating my own news thread titled the Winx Forever News thread.
That's
Yeah.
where the name came from.
Yes, that's exactly where the name came from. That's what Winx Forever Podcast stems from, was my old Winx Club news thread in the forums back in the day. Yeah, so when I rejoined the fandom, and, you know, I think I even still had like the Winx Forever news like handles on all of my social media profiles. So I had to make that decision of, like, you know, to change them over to Winx Forever Podcast. What a time. Anyways, but that is where I met also Blossom, who I became quick friends with in the forum, and she started writing with me in my news thread, and we even created like a news fan website, and, you know, we wrote together. Anyway, so, and then that's when Blossom and I submitted an article to the English Forum magazine to be considered to be a part of the writing staff. And I believe the article that we submitted, it was technically like a public forum or a public corner article, where we interviewed some of the Nickelodeon voice actors, and it included Molly
I remember.
Quinn, Romy Dames, and Ariana Grande. Yes, that Ariana Grande.
The word is so small.
It's so small. It's so tiny. So yeah, so it was just a little write-up that we did, and it was such a fun time. I think that, yeah, the my Winx world really, yeah, just opened up in the forums.
Yeah, I still remember the forum like vividly, and the forum magazine as well. Like, I think that I met there quite some people, and there was like the person from India, you,
Yes.
Blossom. Like, it wasn't really like British only. It was like
Right.
worldwide.
Mhm.
Everyone who knew English could just join, and it was like everyone.
Yeah.
English Forum magazine, by any chance, did it push you to pursue your current career, or is it just a coincidence?
Oh, no, it most definitely did. It was so much fun learning back then how to collaborate virtually, when in 2009, 2010, that wasn't really like even a thing yet, you know? Like, no one was working like virtually like we were.
Remote work? What was that?
What was that? Exactly. And so, you know, it wasn't really a thing at all. And so we all worked so effortlessly together to create those issues every month. And I totally attribute that time, you know, I had creating my own Winx content, you know, for the magazine or for Winx Forever News, to being, you know, the major catalyst for helping me discover my true passions for writing and digital content creation.
Aww. I'm so happy we could get to know you more in this episode, especially on such an occasion. Also, while we are at it, I call dibs on hosting the 100 episode. I have great references. You can call Lola.
You've got it. You're in.
Awesome. Everyone who listens to this episode, listen to that and take a note. Like, we'll meet again in 50 episodes.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a short break before we come back for part 2, which is revolving around the present.
Estás escuchando el Winx Forever Podcast. Si estás disfrutando del Winx Forever Podcast, recuerda seguirnos en redes sociales en cualquiera de tus plataformas de streaming favoritas para ser notificado de nuevos episodios.
Welcome back. We're here today to celebrate 50 episodes of the Winx Forever podcast. My name is Jake, aka Qba016, and we have as extra special fairy friend guest today, Lola, host and producer of this amazing podcast about fairies. How do you feel, Lola?
I'm feeling great. This is so much fun.
This is the first time you can just take a breath. Yeah.
I should outsource the hosting more often.
You know where to find me. Okay, as mentioned, this part of the episode is called Present, and we'll be talking all about now. Let's talk about podcasting. I believe that is quite a piece of work to put the whole episode together by one person. Do you often use magic or make it easier? Or what is the process behind the scenes? Tell us a bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of magic, and blood, sweat, and tears. Mostly blood and tears. No, I'm joking. No, but for real, it does take a lot to produce like just one single episode, especially being a one fairy show. From the scripting to recording to editing.
That should be your catchphrase.
I'm a one fairy show. Yes. But yeah, like, it's all a lot for one person, even for the fairy of media. But earlier you said fairy podcasting. That's fun. I like that. But and that's not even getting into like scheduling stuff with my Winx Forever friends who all live across the world. Like, it's always a pleasure to get to connect with them, obviously, but like, time zones and figuring out when's best to record, like that's even a beast in of itself. So yeah. But yeah, so I'll walk through the process a little bit. So like I mentioned, I'll start with an episode that I want to record, like the topic, and for instance, let's use a rewatch podcast episode for an example. With these rewatch episodes, I've been watching 2 different versions of the same episode, so that's like 45 minutes to an hour. I'm watching the Cinelli English dub and then comparing it to what I grew up with, the 4Kids dub, and then I'll take the general outline that is on Winx Club wiki for just that episode, and then I will add my commentary to that outline, and then I'll use that as a draft of the episode. But then I'll go back and I'll add in drafts of like additional parts of the script, such as like the intro, the outro, and like the Winx Forever moment and things like that. Like just like adding in the different like things to help me guide my conversation along. And then it's recording time. If I'm recording a solo episode, it's a little bit faster, but only because like when I'm recording with friends, I build in time
because nobody's like cutting in.
Well, no, not even that. When I'm recording with friends, like with you, like I will build in extra time for myself so that I can just catch up with you guys, because we are real life friends, and so like I just like to hear about what's going on in their lives and stuff.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I'll build that in too, to make sure that we get that connection, as well as get to talk about our fairies. But yeah, and so I'll build that time in to catch up with them off mic, and then that's always a blast. Then from there, after it's recorded, we get into the editing of the show, so that we edit the show down to get this polished version that you're listening to on streaming platforms, and then creating social content that I use to promote the show on social media. I feel like I've finally gotten into like this nice creative flow for cranking out these episodes, but even still, it's pretty time consuming once you add it all up.
How much hours would you say a single episode takes?
I mean, so to get like an hour long episode, you have to record about 2 hours worth of content, and then it gets edited down to 1 hour, and then editing takes, I mean, you have to listen to the whole 2 hour episode, so that's about 4 or 5 hours then. And then Yeah, and then content is pretty easy, so that's about like an hour. So I'd say like anywhere from like 6 to 10 hours for one episode.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do a great job on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I would also think it's important to mention that your podcast plays a big role in the fandom, like keeping interest in the franchise, especially now as we lost Fate, the Winx saga, and of course there's a lot of things planned to enchant the fans with new reboot series of Winx, which is postponed and postponed and postponed and postponed. You can just like put it into loop. And also Fate comics that I'm super excited about.
So excited.
And like
for
I'm
those.
fingers crossed, I'm waiting for those.
Yes.
And the possible new live action cinematic production that is being shopped. But at the very moment, there is a huge time gap that I feel like we as creators need to fill in with our ideas, like just to keep the fire alive. Is it something that sparked the idea of creating the show?
You know, I get this question a lot about, you know, why I started the podcast. And yeah, that I feel like that is a huge part of it. So after the forum days, I focused a lot of my time on school. I was in college at that point, and I was definitely, you know, less active in the Winx Club online community. But I was still consuming, obviously, all of this wonderful content that the fandom is so good at creating. But even, you know, getting to reconnect with you was really special because I didn't know if I'd ever get the chance to talk to anyone from the English forum days, you know, ever again in my life. Like when the forum shut down, I, you know, pretty much lost contact with a lot of Winxers because that was my online Winx community, you know? So to see that you were still active and creating wonderful art in the fandom, and then, you know, to see other Winx projects like Almost Magical and Chronicles of Magix, you know, that those really captured my heart and honestly my love for Winx again, because it inspired me to do something as well. You know, I just didn't know what that looked like at the time. I knew that like I had all this like inspiration and all of this Winx, you know, inspiration, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do with it at the time. So and I had this idea in my head for about a year, I think, from like 2019 to 2020. And Dawn from Almost Magical can tell you the times that I would be like, so I have this idea, you know, and just like running these ideas past her. And, you know, I'm not really sure if it's, you know, going to be good or not, or, you know, but just to hear her encouragement, you know, really meant a lot to me, because she is just such an amazing creative, and getting to just have that like feedback from an amazing Winxer, an amazing creative person, that was really special. But I still had this idea, and I still had this like imposter syndrome about starting something like a podcast, because one, I'd never podcasted before. I'd done YouTube was like my thing. Like I loved making videos with my friends growing up and stuff. So, but like I wanted to push myself creatively, and I was like, well, how do I do that? Well, podcasts are pretty popular, and I didn't see really anyone doing a podcast in the Winx space, but I still didn't know like if I could do it, you know. I didn't know if anyone would listen to it. All I knew is that I wanted to create something with my passion for Winx Club, you know, after all of these years. And for me, I guess it came to the point where it really didn't matter to me if anyone listened to it. Like, but by the time that I like got the courage enough to like create it, I decided this project was for me, you know, that it meant a lot to me, and that more importantly, like it meant a lot to little Lola, and making little Lola proud was something, you know, that is a huge accomplishment, I feel like, for me.
I think it's like very important, like to make your inner child proud of you, because the children are so pure and like light-hearted, and they are, you know, yeah.
And so like I feel like little Lola would be proud. But this is so funny. So I came to that decision, right? Like I was doing it, I'm gonna do this podcast, I'm gonna do it for me, it's gonna be so fun, you know. But I decided that, you know, if I was gonna create this thing, I wanted it done my way, and I wasn't going to half-ass anything. And so that being said, I really, really wanted to have legal access to use this song from Big Wild, who, is an artist that I discovered through the actors of Faith the Winx Saga, which, even the existence of Faith the Winx Saga was also in and of itself another big catalyst for the podcast for me, because this resurgence of Winx suddenly in the mainstream media was really cool to see, and something that I think, I even say in one of my first episodes that no matter how you feel about Faith the Winx Saga, like, you can't deny that it did like spark this like re-energized like life into the fandom.
That's
and
true.
And so I was like, if I'm gonna do it, like, this is the time to do it. So back to the Big Wild song. So I needed access to the song, and like, this was kind of like my last, like, okay, if I get this, like, I'm doing the podcast. So I just randomly out of the blue messaged Jackson, who is Big Wild, and I messaged him on Instagram, slid into his DMs, and was like, hey, could I use this song for my passion project? And oh my God, like a week later, he replied, and he was so kind to respond and give me the contact of his manager, who like okayed the use of his song for my passion project. And it was like, just as long as like, I didn't run ads on the podcast, that I could continue to use his song for free for the theme of the Winx Forever podcast. So that, like, huge shout out to Big Wild for coming through with that, because I feel like that was like truly like my final like sign, or like my green light to start the podcast. And honestly, like, that's how I've always wanted it to, I'm not like, and I'm not creating this podcast to make money, clearly. But I was like, I've never wanted it to feel that way. I feel like it's very important for me from the start to like iterate, like, this is indeed a passion project. And as soon as it isn't fun anymore, as soon as like, it feels more like a job, then I'll have to, retire it, because I never want it to feel like that for me or my audience. But, until then, I'm having a blast.
We hope it's like super long.
Just keep making it fun.
Yeah, keep making it fun. And Rainbow, keep making more seasons, like reasonable ones. So
please,
Lola can do a podcast about it.
Oh, I've already got so much content over the past almost 20 years of Winx. Like, I think that I have enough content for a while.
Well, yeah, you
over.
have at least 7 more seasons of Winx rewatches, plus 2 seasons of Winx World of Winx rewatches, plus seasons of Fate the Winx Saga rewatches. So you're with us up until your retirement, like the real retirement. I
know,
think.
I'm gonna be 80 years old.
Imagine.
I can't.
Fairy of jelly.
Jeez.
That'll be nice.
Oh, I'm crying.
All right, I think this is the moment for the second batch of magical surprise.
Oh my God!
We have some more friends that send us questions, so let's hear another one.
Hey Lola, it's Winro. My question to you is, which Winx member or which from the Tricks would you interview?
Ooh. Okay, wow. Shout out Winro. I love this so much, Jake. You really got some good deep cuts. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. How fun. Who would I interview of the Winx or the Tricks? I think that it would be so fun. I mean, it would be so fun to interview the Tricks. It would be so fun to interview Icy or even Stormy, because I think she's hilarious.
Yeah, she would be all over the place.
Yes, but I think that it would be fun to interview them, to ask what happened? Where did you go wrong? How did you had the power of the Dragonfire. How, what happened? Ego get in the way? I would just love to hear their side of it. That meddling fairy Bloom. No. At this point, it's not Bloom's fault. You fumbled the bag. What happened?
Yeah.
I would love to hear it from their perspective.
Yeah, but after a couple of seasons, a couple of seasons later, when they are just tried with Valtor and then
Right,
with someone
right.
else. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. What a fun question. Wow. Thanks, Winrow. I love that.
Okay, we have one more for this one. Let me just play it.
Hi, Lola. Congratulations on 50 episodes. You're doing amazing, and I'm happy I got to be part of the podcast. I do have a question. Do you have any more voice actor interviews in the works right now, or anybody else who's worked on the show?
Was that
And
Chloe?
this was Chloe.
Okay.
Closet Chloe cosplay.
Today's her birthday.
Happy
As we
birthday.
record it. Happy birthday, Chloe. Thank you, Chloe, for your question. Okay, so lined up for the podcast. As you know, I like to kind of like keep things a little under wraps as they get announced, but I can say that obviously we just wrapped up season 1 of our rewatch episodes. And in season 2, there's a very beloved fairy that joins the crew. So I might or might not have some special guests to introduce us to said fairy that I'm very excited about. So you'll have to stay tuned.
That was a great advertisement.
Thank you.
I have one more question, this time
Okay.
from Dawn from Chocolate Smoothie, who wasn't really able to send her audio, but I have
Yeah.
her question written down.
Okay.
So the question from Dawn of Almost Magical is, how do you strike a balance between your day-to-day job, your personal life, and working consistently on your podcast?
Oh dear God. Dawn, thanks for your question. Love you so much. Wow. That's a great question, and something that I think honestly, a lot of creatives struggle with. But truly, one, like surrounding yourself with like good friends and good people that will help you like stay away from the edge. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're the ones that like kind of keep you grounded and keep you like safe, I guess, from yourself. Because if it were up to me, I would produce content like 24/7. Like it's a lot of fun for me. It's also a coping mechanism, but we'll get into that later. But it's also like it is that balance of like looking at realistically when you can get things done. For me, I think that that's why it's really important to not be hard on myself when I take like unexpected hiatuses or just a break in the middle of a season. Like I need that time to recoup. I need that time to be around family and friends in real life. Like it's so important because it's like it's never like a like goodbye forever. It's a goodbye for now. Because it helps you just stay balanced and honestly it rejuvenates like your creativity, even like when you step away from it for a minute. It's like painting. If you look at a painting for too long or a drawing for too long, you're like, I hate this, you step away from
Definitely.
it, you come back and you're like, this actually isn't terrible, like, and then it's just this like this fresh pair of eyes that you're able to apply to your craft. And so I think that really helps me like balance because work is always going to be there. Like you have to do like real life work. That's what helps me keep Winx Forever Podcast free. Like is my daily job. But then family stuff for me always comes first above recording and above like doing anything with the podcast or creating stuff for my passion project. So I think just like prioritizing what means the most to you, and the thing is like the people that are tracking your deadlines are you're making your own deadlines for yourself. No one else really. I don't want to say no one cares. No one but truly like no one cares to the amount of you that you do because it's your project, and so I think just having grace with yourself and being kind to yourself in those moments is key to keeping that balance.
Yeah, I think it's actually very universal thing to say. So I think that most of our listeners can take it as a lesson to what they do as their passion, just to keep the fire alive, to keep the balance of things. Because if you're using your creativity like to the excess, it will burn out sooner than later. So keep the balance.
I'm Anthony Salerno, the voice director of the 4Kids dub of the Winx Club, and you are listening to the Winx Forever podcast.
If you've wanted to be on the Winx Forever podcast, well, now you can. All you have to do is visit speakpipe.com/WinxForeverPodcast, and you can leave me a 30-second to 1-minute voicemail with a question for me to answer on the show. Be sure to include your name and where you're from, and I might answer your question on the next episode of the Winx Forever podcast.
Being a podcaster, what would you say are the best things about the job, the project of love?
Yes. I think that the best thing about being a podcaster is, one, if you want to, you can record in your pajamas if you're not recording a video with it,
Well,
which
yeah.
is nice. But no, on a serious note, I think it's so awesome to get to connect with people on such a personal level about mutual interests. I think that, and it doesn't even have to be Winx related, from content creation that we just talked about, or, creativity as a whole. That's been awesome. And I've loved getting to stretch my creative muscles in this way, that I didn't even, have the opportunity to before starting Winx Forever podcast. And I never want to take for granted the opportunity that I have to elevate people's voices, and to give them a stage to share their experiences and their stories as well. I think that this fandom is really beautiful and diverse, and has so many unique stories to tell within it. And I just love being able to get to be the one, to help share those stories and magnify them. And I just love that about podcasting.
Yeah, I think it's important to let people tell their story, and being part of the fandom, it's amplifies their story if you put it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very nice. I like it.
Thank you.
But what about the disadvantages? What do you struggle the most with?
Man, I think for me, like we said, with Dawn's question, just towing that line of obligation versus opportunity. I don't have to release a podcast a week. I get to, and keeping that mindset straight is really important, because podcasting is very demanding. There's a certain predisposition about podcasts that, they have to come out weekly or bi-weekly, or, I didn't start weekly. I tried doing it every other week when I first started the podcast. And then I decided, to take a break from that. And it was every 3 weeks, and, but there was a point last year where I wanted to prove to myself that I could produce a podcast weekly, and so, I made that a goal for myself personally to set, to see if I could do it. And I did it for a while last year, and then I had to take a break, and then, but it became a lot. So taking that break between the rewatch episodes, was necessary. But I'd say, long story short, the schedule and feeling of I have to produce this podcast or else people will forget me. I think what helps me come over that is just remembering why I started in the first place, and, taking necessary breaks when, it's important.
Yeah, I think it's similar with me, actually, because lately I've been putting a bit less content online, because I decided I need a bit of a break and slow down a bit. But still I'm trying to put something every week, one piece a week, or every, let's say, 10 days. And I posted today a picture, and I got a comment that's of someone saying that, oh, you haven't been here for a while.
Yeah.
I really like that you finally added something. And I was like, but I posted last week, definitely last week.
Yeah.
So
Oh
I
my
feel
gosh.
it is kind of frustrating at
Yeah,
times.
the demand. Yeah.
The
And just
demand.
because content is so
Yeah.
like instant nowadays. Like people don't like take into consideration the time that, you know, we just talked about the breakdown of the time that takes me to produce one episode is like 10
Oh,
plus
yeah.
hours. You know, so it's like, and for you, like drawing, I'm sure it's like, you know,
Yeah, it's a
multiple
similar
hours of
time.
labor.
It's
Yes,
similar time. So
exactly.
I feel you.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was heavy.
Yeah, for sure.
Still, I feel like your days are made of merfics. Like I'm sure that Aisha is helping you somehow, but so you can stretch your hours.
Oh
You
my
managed to
gosh.
create the podcast, work full time, run popular social media channels, and also a Discord server now. Like that sounds like a lot. What keeps your energy levels so high when you're so busy?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. First off, yes, it is a lot, Jake. I won't
It
lie to you.
is.
I won't lie to you. Speaking of things that I struggle with a lot, and not to like I get like super deep or personal, but I think it's a really important topic to me, especially because sorry. This year I was diagnosed with high functioning depression and anxiety. So that has been something, you know, that I've struggled with all my life and I didn't know it. And so high functioning depression and anxiety doesn't mean that the depression and anxiety is high functioning. It means that I have lived with those conditions for so long untreated that my brain has found ways to function at high levels in spite of those disabilities. So it's like it's like living with a constant annoying sound and then like turning up the music to drown it out so you don't hear it. So something that I've learned about myself this year is that one of those ways that I cope with that is being overproductive. So I don't want to glorify like hustle culture or overproductivity in any way. Even like, you know, I appreciate the sentiment. I don't want anyone to look at me and to strive, you know, to be like this because it's a symptom, not a lifestyle, if that makes sense, you know. But to answer your question, really, you know, a lot of things that I do and that I get to do, you know, some of the ones that you mentioned, you know, be it the podcast or starting a new social media project or even down to the Discord community, it all pretty much boils down to curiosity. You know, me asking myself, I wonder if I can make a podcast. I wonder if I can write a fan fiction and produce an audiobook for said fan fiction. I wonder if, you know, just, you know, trying it out, you know, with no high stakes involved, zero pressure and no money involved in it. So, you know, I can actually see if I can do them and if I enjoy them. So for me, it's like a fun way to try new things without the fear of failure, I think. You know, I think that there are so many wonderful creative people in this world. Some of them, you know, I get the pleasure of knowing personally, who never create, you know, who never put themselves out there due to their fear of failure. And it's such an, you know, epidemic among creatives. But if failure isn't an option, if you're just trying something to see if you like it or if you can do it, then I think it removes that fear and becomes more about exploring your own creativity. And if other people like it, you know, great. If they don't, great too, because, you know, you have spent the time to explore this new creative side of you or to, you know, experience something new that you can learn from if you can or can't, you know, do it. So yeah, like just be curious and see what you can create.
That's good. I would also add, like, enjoy the process.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, like, you might not like the final product, but the process was still there and it gave you something.
Yeah, still valuable. Process is so valuable.
That's true. Guys, I hope that you're all charged up now, as right after the short break, we are going to dive into the future in the next part of this episode. Don't go anywhere, because you don't want to miss it.
Hey there, I'm the Unicorn of War, and you're listening to the Winx Forever Podcast.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Winx Forever podcast, follow the show on your favorite streaming platform so that you're notified when new episodes are released.
I hope you are still here because we are. We, as myself and our special guest Lola, are here to spill some tea. Welcome to the third part of the special episode of the Winx Forever podcast, where we celebrate 50 episodes of the show. I still cannot believe it. It feels like yesterday when I listened to the first episode. But enough of the past. We are looking forward now, and you always ask your guests what are they up to. So let's twist it and talk about your plans for the show. We are already past the end of the rewatch episodes. And I am sure I'm not the only one wondering. Do you plan on repeating the format for other seasons? Meaning next season of the podcast being rewatch of season 2 and so on?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I would love to. I would love to. However, there are a lot of Winx Club seasons, and I'm not trying to do this podcast until I'm 80. So
I thought that was the plan.
I would love to continue the rewatch episodes and to at least my like tentative plan right now is like at least until like season 3-ish, as that's like, you know, the final season that the 4Kids was able to dub. However, I think that, you know, I'll have to revisit the format of which I do these rewatch episodes, if I want to continue to make them more manageable and easy to reproduce over and over. I think one solution that I've come up with to help with that is doing more live reaction rewatch episodes. In our Discord community. I think that would be a really fun way to get our friends engaged on the on the Discord for Winx Forever podcast, and also to showcase different voices from the fandom as well. So we'll see, you know, we'll see what happens. I know that eventually we will have to address the Fate season 2 fiasco on the podcast, and you know, because since I started the podcast with a, you know, Fate season 1 deep dive, I'm eventually going to have to do a season 2 deep dive. And I know that I've just been procrastinating because I still can't like cope with it being canceled.
Yeah,
I get really sad when I think about it. I'm going to cry. But yeah, so no, eventually we'll, you know, address the Fate 2 season, but yeah, I've got some thinking to do on the layout though for these rewatch episodes to make them more manageable.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of those. I see that you have a lot of ideas, so I'm like, we can rest in peace. The next season is going to be even better than the one that we are in.
Yes.
What else there is for Lola to be done in podcasting world? Do you have any goals for Winx Forever podcast for the nearest future?
For the nearest future, I definitely think that the Winx Forever podcast is entering this new era. I'm not entirely sure what that will look like yet, but I am very excited to see where else the podcast takes me and in the fandom. I'd like to invest more time into my podcast Discord community. I would love to host virtual events on the Discord community. I'm so passionate about community in general, and I think that that's a fun way for me to help cultivate, you know, the Winx fandom community is through the podcast. So yeah, I think that that's my my nearest future endeavors.
That's nice. Yeah. And now we have the last part of magical surprise questions from your friends. Okay, let's start with the first one.
Would you ever be open to running a Winx theme panel at any conventions in the future?
So that was our friend Closet Chloe Cosplay once again.
Nice. Okay, so yes, I would totally be open to that. I think that would be so much fun leading a Winx Club panel at a convention. I'm actually going to, I think that by the time this episode airs, this will have passed, but I'm actually meeting for the first time Closet Chloe Cosplay and Mew Usagi, who you all know, Morgan. I'm super excited to meet both of them in person for the first time ever, and it's gonna be so much fun. So yes, like it'll be my first like big convention. There is like a fan hosted panel for Winx Club fans at this convention. So I'm
interesting.
excited. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what that's about. And just kind of learn about the big con scene and kind of see where Winx Forever Podcast can fit into that. It would be so fun.
Yeah, I could definitely see you as a host for the panel, and I would definitely come over and take part in the panel for sure if you were hosting.
So fun. I would love that.
Imagine. Yeah, we could also just an idea
Yes.
create a panel on the podcast. We could just
Absolutely.
just an idea out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I can't give away too much, but I want to say be on lookout for a special edition episode coming out around the anniversary of the 4 Kids dub of Winx Club. So I'm just saying, be on lookout for that.
Don't thank you guys. I just took yet another piece of information from Lola. Okay, we have one more question from a very special fairy from Germany.
Ciao amore, happy 50th episode of the Winx Forever podcast. Thank you for providing us with your magical content, and thank you Jake for hosting the special episode. My question for you Lola would be, what is one of the most memorable things that happened since you started the podcast or even before? And who would be your dream guest on your podcast? Lots of love from Germany to you both and all the fairies who are listening. Seguil tu cuore, your Stella.
My Stella! I love you, Stella, so much. Thank you for your beautiful voice and heart and question. Wow.
Yeah,
Jake,
thank you, Stella.
This is so sweet. Thank you for doing all of this. Putting all of this together. So, the most memorable thing that has happened since I started the podcast. For me, goodness. I mean, getting to interview Anthony Salerno was a huge milestone for me. That was such a fun time, and he was so kind. I think that's that's a memory that I'll hold with me forever. Obviously the Karen Tackett episode, but one of the things, and Stella will know this firsthand because she was one of the first people I messaged. And she actually thought that something was wrong when I messaged her about this, but there wasn't. It was very right. But I got an email from the marketing team that is partnering with Rainbow to kind of host these influencer campaigns. And they asked if they could send me something. And so I literally cried that day getting that email because, being an American Winx fan and being, so removed from the special events and things that get to happen in Europe, it's really hard, to think Winx Club even thinks about me and my little fairy podcast show. So getting that email meant a lot. And I am, very happy to be included in their Winx Club Forever campaign. And so I think that will be forever memorable, getting the email, crying about it, and then also messaging Stella about it and crying while I'm messaging her, and she thought that there was something wrong.
Well, how could you not be part of Winx Forever project if your podcast is literally called Winx Forever?
I know. It's so fun. I think that, I'm just very thankful for the opportunity, and it's just so fun. I everything about it so fun. Okay, so wait, there was a second part of this question. So who would I like to interview in the future? I mean, obviously I have a dream guest. You could probably guess
Mr.
who my dream
Straffy.
guest, Mr. Straffy himself.
Listen to him. Listen to this.
if you're listening, anyone involved with Mr. Straffi, please send this to him. I mean, getting to interview him would be a dream, obviously. I still, have hopes of Elisa Roselli coming on the show eventually and talking about her contribution to the Winx fandom with her music. Yeah, like I think that would be just so magical. And then I would love to get, even more voice actors and people involved with the show in different capacities on, because I think that part of the magic too of like getting to see how the show was built and how it was put together, and especially the dub that I grew up with it being such a unique version of Winx Club. I think that that's a really fun, it's really fun to get to like peek behind the scenes of like what that was like to create. So yeah, I think that obviously Mr. Straffi is like the number one goal. But
yeah, it's Straffi and then the retirement.
yes,
So,
exactly.
So yeah, please send Mr. Straffi so Lola can just like take a break finally.
Yeah, I will retire. I will retire the moment I interview Straffi.
Okay, then don't send him. Turn back.
Abort.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question, this time in written. Still, the second question by Dawn from Almost Magical.
Yes.
Imagine if the creative direction of Winx Club was up to you, what would your vision be like? Could you give us an idea?
Oh my goodness, I have chills thinking about this.
Yeah, Dawn, this is the best question. Thank you very much.
What a great question. Okay, wow. First I would do an analysis of the brand and where we've been, what they've been doing right, what maybe they've had some shortcomings on, and go from there. So I think that one of the things that I would like to see as a creative director would be way more fan involvement, which like I think that they are starting to kind of realize and do in this new like era of Winx Club. I think that we are seeing more and more of that, which is nice. So definitely more fan engagement. I would find more ways to get the creatives in the fandom involved with the brand. And then from there, I mean, I would just pour into the community as much as I could with the brand, because I mean, from my perspective, the best chance that Rainbow and Winx Club ever had at cornering the American market was, in their first iteration of Winx in America. So like, seasons 1 through 3 with 4 kids, like their integrative marketing plan was amazing. Like they had commercials, they had advertisements in dentist office, they had like they had so much going for them. And I think that kind of leaning into like that kind of like old school form of marketing again, I think that would do really, really well. But then also leaning back into like the community and kind of cultivating that in because I really think like the miss is like for like they just keep partnering with like the wrong people, and like the people that don't get Winx, they just want to incorporate Winx and just let it be like something along with all the other stuff and not let it be its own thing. And so just like giving Winx the like the freedom and the like room for it to be its own thing in markets that it never got a chance to really be. I hope that answers your question. I know that those aren't like those are more theoretic and not like hard-hitting like here's my 5-step plan to turn around the brand of I'm not there yet, but
I'm actually very like impressed and maybe not surprised that you took this question into turn of marketing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, the story and the things, because
I can come at it from that point. I
know you can
about that.
I know you can, but like the fact that you started with the marketing plan, it's like says a lot.
Thank you.
Like, plus, if we take the first seasons of Winx, as you said, like because they were the best marketed, there is not much to like change.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and coming from so from just a pure story perspective, like, I mean, ended after Secret of Lost Kingdom. The Winx saga, like the Winx like story, ends at Secret of Lost Kingdom because the arc of Bloom knowing who she is, discovering her parents are alive, and then bringing them from Obsidian into, like, that's a closed book, like that is literally like, done, the end. And then season 4, season 5, season 6, 8, like those need to be new stories of new fairies discovering their own powers, discovering their own friendships and stuff. Like, there was so much missed opportunity in like Roxy, like her arc, like absolutely send the fairies to Earth to like cultivate this new, like magic on Earth, but also, help to bring up this new fairy who basically is Bloom, like you can have the like protagonist, not knowing they're the chosen one, and then, like go through that journey to discover what being the chosen one means. Like, that plays every time. That is such a like, that's such a popular trope that like you could do that over and over just with new fairies, new characters, new dynamics. Like, do that. I want to hear those stories and not just like, fabricated drama between, like Helia and Flora for, why, like, just like, I don't want these like made up shallow storylines. I want the deep plots and character arcs that we got in seasons 1 through 3 and then the first movie. Like, give me that, but again and again and again, and you have a winning strategy every time. Like,
I do agree. I do agree. We could turn it into a saga, like the Winx Club saga.
Yeah.
But then again, put the spotlight on other fairy, like there is Myrta.
Oh, I would have loved a Myrta arc.
Yeah, who transfers from Cloud's Tower to Althea just to become a fairy. Like, it could be a pretty great season. Just like keep the spotlight on Myrta.
And we can still have story.
We can still have Winx like in the background, like part of the show. But it's like, let's focus on someone else. Yeah, I think that's very wise thing to do with the franchise, especially now. Like, we have yet like first, second, third, fourth. It will be the 5th reiteration of Winx.
Oh my god!
With the season 9, because we have the first Winx, like the OG Winx. Then we have the
golden era.
Then we have the TV movies made by Nickelodeon
era.
Then we have World of Winx.
Netflix era.
Fate the Winx saga. And now we have season 9 with complete reboot.
Would you consider season 8 also like a soft reboot with the animation change?
Yeah. Well, you're right. Yeah, I would do that.
Like, yeah.
It's 6th.
Which is crazy.
Which is actually crazy. Yeah. I'm just like super worried that the season 9 will not turn out to be a success. And if it doesn't, I actually wouldn't like Rainbow or Mr. Struffy to be like, okay, this was the last chance and now we are just like bury Winx. Like, please consider doing like spin-offs and like take the characters you already have and that are built and show their story instead of just like, repeating and repeating and repeating and changing the law.
but at the same time, at what point is it too late to do that? At what point is it too late to go back and have a Myrta arc or have a Roxy arc? You know what I mean? Like,
we still can have it.
But like it feels like the window of opportunity is gone, though, for me personally. Like, if they were gonna do that, season 4 would have been the prime time. And then like yeah, like I just feel like that the I don't know, like maybe they are viewing season 9 as like this is our last shot, because like maybe like they also feel like that window of opportunity to just pick up from the end of Secret of Lost Kingdom is over, you know, like I don't know, you know, I'm not in those decision making rooms, but if I was
Well, yeah, obviously. But then
yeah.
again, okay, if not Murta and Roxy, we could still create a new group of fairies that came to Althea now after a couple of years that Winx left, and they just like, you know, come into the same rooms and they learn magic and learn about Winx. They don't have to be like their children or anything.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
just a new group, like more modern, more up to date with fashion and everything.
Yeah.
Like just let the kids or teenagers or us actually enjoy Althea from a different perspective now.
Yeah. I know.
That would be nice. Yeah.
That would be so great.
We just need to produce it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that because and this goes back to like a lot of what we've like talked about the fandom, like I think that because, you know, Winx Club as like a narrative has taken the road that it has, like that is why the fans have had to step up and, you know, as you said, like fill those gaps because of the potential, you know, that the story has, because of like this, like I've heard it explained as like, you know, they've given us like, it's not like, you know, the best show in the world, you know, I will hands up say that, but it gave us such a fun like sandbox to play in, you know, like it gave us the world, and that I will be forever grateful for.
Oh yeah, same. I think so. Like I think that the lore, the word building, it's all like it's all inspiring. So like
yeah,
let's get inspired.
Yeah.
And create something. Yeah.
You're listening to the Winx Forever Podcast. Join in on the conversation when you follow @WinxForeverPodcast on social media.
And talking about creating something, I'm thinking about the reunion issue of You Know What, or any other ideas you have. Can we spill some more potion about that? About the You Know What?
Absolutely. Well, as you might remember, the last time Jake was on the show, we announced a super special fan project that we want to invite you, the listeners and members of the Winx community, to collaborate on for the 20th anniversary of Winx Club. And we are, you know, making this reunion issue of the Winx Club English Forum magazine. We have, you know, now opened applications, so definitely go check those out. We are looking for writers, illustrators, content creators. We want, you know, to hear your memories or stories related to your experience growing up with Winx Club anytime in the past 20 years. We want to hear from you, and how you do that is you go check out the submission form in the description below, or over on our Instagram page, which is @WinxEN Forum Mag, to learn more about how you can get involved with that project. We want it to be the biggest fan project ever in Winx Club history. So please go submit your fan arts, go submit your stories, go submit your fan fictions, like whatever you create, please just submit it all.
Yeah, just like throw it at us, and we'll be very, very thankful. Yeah, I think that this project has such a potential. Like it will be like a book of memories for all those 20 years. I cannot wait to see it like coming to life. And I'm very, very, like very, very happy that people can get involved and should get involved. So right after this episode ends, you go there and submit your form. Oh, Lola, I'm positive that you are going to surprise us many times. I know you for a while, and I can promise that. Like, definitely
you.
100%.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you so much for letting me host this week's special episode, Lola. And once again, happy 50 episodes of Winx Forever Podcast.
Thanks, Jake. Thank you so much for wanting to host the 50th episode and for just doing such a stellar job.
It's been so much fun to fill in your shoes for our day. If you ever need a cover, you know where to find me, of course. Be sure to let us know on social media or the comments below what you thought of this episode and if there is anything you'd like to see in the future episodes. And until next time, thanks for listening to the Winx Forever Podcast.
The theme for Winx Forever Podcast is the song She Makes Magic by Big Wild.